Hi, my name is Lucas DeVries, and I'm joined alongside by Brody Jacobson as we're here for another week on Hoop and Helmets. How's your week been, Brody?
Pretty bad. Auburn lost to Duke earlier this week in the ACSEC Challenge, if you guys didn't watch. And there's a lot of stuff you can point to, but we'll just leave it that we lost to Duke, and it's not a bad loss. We lost by 6.
Yeah, I'm happy because Army and Clemson are both playing this weekend, and we beat Kentucky in basketball, so it's a good week for my sports teams. So, let's get it started with this week. What's your first matchup you want to go over?
Yeah, let's actually start with the college football playoff thoughts. And I have a lot of hate towards the new format. But let's start off with the conference champion scenarios. As we know tonight in the Mountain West Championship and the American, the winner of the Mountain West gets it. We know that. Boise State against UNLV. Boise State has the spot right now, but me and Lucas both sense an upset could be arising. Clemson, SMU in the ACC championship. Clemson wins, they're in. SMU loses, who knows if they're in. I don't think they should be in, but we can talk about that one. And all the other conference championship games, the Big 12 championship game, Arizona State, Iowa State, the winner of that, they get in. And the other championship games, you win, you get the bye. If you lose, you'll be in that mid-tier, but you lose. And the problem with these conference championship games that we're seeing is that you lose and you don't get a home game in the playoffs. And a lot of coaches have been saying that they don't like conference championship games. So what scenario are you looking at this weekend?
All right, so I'm gonna put on my Syracuse hat real quick. All right, so I'm obviously focused on SMU Clemson, but not only for the reason that we're winning, just in a general as a college football fan, it definitely is the most important matchup and has the most buzz around it this week because it has the most playoff implications. Because if SMU wins, it's simple, right? But a lot of people think Clemson's going to win this game, and if Clemson does win this game, it's where starts getting crazy. So thanks to Syracuse last week, we're in a spot where we're a 3-loss team. So let's focus on Clemson first. If they win, will they get the 4 seed and get a bye, or will they get the 12 seed and be on the road against probably the second best team in the country? It really depends. Will they put us over a Group 5 team like UNLV? Maybe, we don't know. But now, if for SMU's case, what will happen? Will they put a 1-loss SMU team with another loss in the conference championship or a 3-loss Bama? Most people would say Bama. I don't think so at all. I think South Carolina should actually be in instead of Bama. But there's no way you can take Bama over SMU, especially when they've been undefeated for like 10 weeks in a row when they actually started playing a good quarterback. But a lot of people think Bama, and that it's just going to start getting crazy because South Carolina's out here doing crazy stuff because they really deserve to be in. I know Brody agrees with that one. And then obviously you have elimination games in the Big 12 and the Mountain West. And the American probably won't matter too much, but it's still a very important matchup. And it's just going to be a crazy week. And we'll see what ends up happening. But there's a lot of scenarios. What scenario are you most looking forward to?
You're right. You talk about this SMU scenario, and I guess this isn't necessarily a scenario, but I'm just so bummed about this South Carolina scenario. I mean, South Carolina, they're clearly eliminated now. And this brings me to a topic of Shane Beamer said in his press conference this week, what? We don't need to schedule good non-conference games anymore? I mean, South Carolina, they have 4 top 25 wins. There's, I think, 6 or 7 teams in the playoffs right now without a top 25 win. So do you need to play good teams to make the playoffs? I mean, with this format, clearly not.
Yeah, it's really stupid. I'm a Clemson fan, so like it's really tough to like say that we shouldn't be in, even though we definitely shouldn't. But think about this. South Carolina just came onto our home field and beat us, even though it was a really close game and we very well could have won. I think both of us are good teams, but South Carolina definitely deserves it more than we do. But South Carolina right now is sitting with like a 1% chance, and Clemson's sitting with like a 50% chance. That just right there, that just shows you how the playoff system doesn't make any sense at all. And I think it does need to be changed. The 12-team playoff is a great idea, having more teams. I love it with home field games in the first round. It's going to be electric. But having teams with like 3 losses that aren't SEC or having like a 2-loss UNLV team, it's just not the way they format it. It's just not a good idea. And and I'm also, this is extremely off topic, but Notre Dame, you got to join the conference. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you talk about this 12-team playoff. I don't know what to pinpoint it to this year, because this year has clearly been different. There's no team that's really stood above the rest. I mean, Oregon, yeah, they're the only 12-0 team left, but they were shaky against Wisconsin, and they're only 2-point favorites against Penn State. Like, you look at these other teams like Georgia, Alabama, even Alabama's not doing anything. Texas, you look at these big name teams, Ohio State. I mean, they're all beatable.
So, I mean, we haven't talked about last week, but how about Ohio State losing to Michigan? Who saw that coming? I picked Michigan to cover the spread. That was like my confidence pick. It's a rivalry game. But it was like 20 points. Ohio State, Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. He threw for 50 yards and 2 interceptions. How do you even lose to them? It doesn't make any sense at all. Obviously, I wasn't watching as Clemson was playing South Carolina. I just don't understand how that even happens. And then if you are a Clemson fan, the emotional roller coaster you've been on this year is insane. After getting obliterated by Georgia, you dropped out of the top 25 thinking there's no chance. Then you dominate 7 wins in a row going to Louisville with a great chance. Then you lose to Louisville, go back to a 4% chance, ESPN had it. Then chaos goes crazy and then you win out and you're back to like a 40% chance. Then you lose to South Carolina, 3-loss AC team, you're not getting in. Then Syracuse pulls off a huge upset and you're back to a 50% chance. It's just absolute madness this year.
Yeah, and you talk about that Michigan game, and we knew Michigan wanted to run the football. They straight up have no offense. Everyone knows that. Their quarterback, he's a walk-on. And Ohio State, $20 million on that roster. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who to pinpoint to, but we knew Michigan wanted to run the football, and Ohio State played it right into their hands, and they're fighting after the game. I mean, you had 60 minutes to fight. There's honestly no excuse for Jack Sawyer, that entire Ohio State team, and Ryan Day, him seeing at the end. Like, did you see that?
Yeah.
Video of him just standing there at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got to go.
I feel like Ryan Day, I don't know how to explain it. He's somewhat overhated because what he's done outside of the Michigan game is like top 5 by easily in the country. I think there was stat he's 49-1 against non-Michigan teams. And his one loss, I think, was to Georgia in that playoff game that one year where Georgia came back and had a huge win and Ohio State's kicker missed that field goal. So he's been phenomenal in games outside of Michigan. But to Ohio State fans, the biggest game of the year is Michigan. You can't get it done. He's definitely on the hot seat. I honestly think Ryan Day should get a shot in the playoff this year before you even start talking about firing him. But if they're a first-round exit, he's gone. There's no way he's coming back.
Yeah, right. And you talk about that Alabama loss, and I don't know if you saw this, but tweet surfaced from a former Ohio State player. I think it was a linebacker 2 years ago. He said at halftime in that game, when they were up big, Ryan Day did not even give a speech to the team. They just had their position meetings. He didn't give a speech. So, and Ohio State, you look around their campus, they put an X on every M around campus. They don't talk with an M. They say Michigan. That's the week. And you can't lose 4 times to them. This was their year. Michigan had no chance to beat them. And then Ohio State, and they were at home too.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's a bad situation there. And on that note, we're going to move it on to the conference champions. Let's start off with the 3 games on Friday night. And the Conference USA Championship, Western Kentucky against Jacksonville State. And in that one, I've been following the Conference USA all year. Jacksonville State actually did play Western Kentucky last week. Western Kentucky needed to win to get in. And what people don't know is that the Jacksonville State quarterback, Tyler Huff, who was he's been their quarterback all year, 1,200 rushing yards. He got injured. He had a leg injury in that game. And they took him out before the second half at halftime. He didn't play in the second half. So people were like, well, is he going to play this week? Well, I feel like it's maybe just injury prevention for next week. Now he gets to play against the same Western Kentucky team. They lost by a walk-off 50-yard field goal last week. I just don't see how Jacksonville State loses this game. Considering the line is 4, they're easily winning this game. Do you have a pick in that one?
I agree. I think Jacksonville State's going to win, and I'm pretty sure they're up by 10 right now as well. The game already started, so yeah, Jacksonville State will win, I think.
All right, so the Mountain West Championship, 8 p.m. tonight. Boise State, UNLV, Las Vegas, I believe, which is pretty much where UNLV plays. Mm-hmm. And Hajj Malik Williams says he's never been to Boise. He didn't know where Boise was on the map. Let's remember, this is a UNLV team where their quarterback, Matthew Sluka, who led them to a 3-0 start, just left the program. Mm-hmm. Hajj Malik's been so much better. What do you like here?
Well, it's a great matchup because UNLV has been really sneaky good. I don't know if they won the Syracuse game earlier this year, but they took them to like 3 overtimes. That was a great game. And they've just been a good, solid team all year, but they've been under the radar because of this Boise State team. They just keep winning, but they really have not looked good at all. They could have lost a couple of games to these weaker Mountain West opponents. I think UNLV is just the better team now. Earlier in the year, Boise State was better. We saw them almost beat Oregon because teams didn't know about Genty yet. But now you just pack the box against them, and their passing offense is good enough to get first downs, but is it good enough to win a game? I don't think so. I'm going to pick UNLV, and this is actually one of my more confident picks, even though UNLV is like a 5-point underdog.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually went into depth earlier this year when UNLV played Fresno State, and UNLV put Fresno State away in the first quarter. They were up like 21-3. Fresno State did not come back in the game. It was 49-10, I think. And UNLV's run defense has not been great. So this is a Genty legacy game. I think he's going to get around 30 carries, probably that 250-yard mark. But at the end of the day, I'm going to ride with UNLV too. We're going to go 2-0 on this UNLV underdog. And the final conference championship game tonight, Tulane against Army in the American, and Tulane's favored by 5 coming off a humiliating loss to Memphis.
Yes, so I am an Army supporter, and we've just had a phenomenal year by our standards. Only one loss going into conference championship week. And we're usually not even in a conference championship. We've been independent all up to this year. And I'm going to talk about something about moving conferences in 1 second. But really quick rundown. UNLV, I mean, Tulane is definitely better than us. They've proven that all year. Actually, I don't know if they've proven it all year, but if you watch the games, you could see that their passing offense just isn't a match for us. And if we were down in Tulane for a 60-degree game, I think Tulane wins this by like 15 to 20 points, actually. But we're up at Michie Stadium. It's going to be 20 degrees. Trying to tackle this Army offense, it's going to hurt.
And they haven't played in this weather.
Yeah, and Tulane hasn't played in this weather. Army does all the time in these Army-Navy games. Army's used to it. I don't see why Army can't win this game, and I think they are going to win this game, which is going to shock a lot of people, but the line should be closer than it is, and it should be a dogfight tonight.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to disagree with that point. Army's a good football team, but Tulane, I understand they haven't played in this cold weather, and I think the game will be close, but they still have a good running back in Mensah, and they have the transfer from USC, Mario Williams. They're going to bounce back after this loss, and they're going to finish 10-3, top 20 team, just outside of the playoffs. So moving it on to the Saturday card, we're going to start it off with the Big 12 championship game, Arizona State at Iowa State.
All right, let me just say one thing real quick. If we look at some of these games, some of these teams, it's just crazy to think about this. So we have the 5 biggest games of the week, arguably. So Army versus Tulane. Army was not in the American Conference last year. They are a moving team, and everyone thought the conference realignment teams are going to take time to maybe make their conference championship. This is crazy what we're seeing. Army, first year in the conference championship. SEC championship. Texas, first year in the conference championship. Big 12, Arizona State, first year in the conference championship. Big 10, Oregon, first year in the conference championship. ACC, SMU, first year in the conference championship. That is just wild that every single one of these games has a first-year team in the conference championship. It just doesn't make sense. And it's like, I actually like the conference realignment at this point. I think it makes it way more competitive. And this is the best college football season I've ever watched in my life with so many insane games.
Yeah, and you talk about this conference realignment, and if you look at Arizona State, they were finished to finish last in the Big 12 this year. They surpassed that. Kenny Dillingham's a pretty good coach, huh?
Yeah.
And in this one, Arizona State, Iowa State, I'm Jaden Higgins, by the way. I'm just going to say this now. Jaden Higgins, the Iowa State receiver, he's slowly been getting targets after targets. He's gotten 40 targets in his last 3 games. You know what that gets? That gets receptions for receiving yards. He's going to have a big game, but at the end of the day, give me Cam Scadaboo and this Arizona State team to make the playoffs.
So in this one, it's really tough to pick against Arizona State for how good they've been and how fun a team they've been, winning all these games as the underdogs. But Iowa State, there's just something weird with that program. Like, they don't seem to be a good team, but Rocco Beck is a ballsy player. He can run, he can pass. If Iowa State gets the run game going, I could see this going either way. But again, as I said, it's just so tough to pick against Arizona State and Cam Scadabo, the running back. He's getting Heisman votes right now. He's a little white running back. Like, come on, I got to pick Arizona State.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. He's been on a tear. The MAC championship, I don't know if you have a pick in this one, but I definitely have a pick. Miami, Ohio, right? A little
Yeah.
bit of a rivalry game. Miami, Ohio, I've been high on them all year with Blaine Gabbert. Not Blaine Gabbert, Gabbert's son, but I forgot what his name is. Sorry to him. Miami, Ohio, they had a very tough start. I believe they're 1-3 and they've won 8 straight now. So they've been on a roll as of late, but this Ohio team, they have a good running back, Anthony Tyus III. He's been a beast. Last week he ran for 120 yards on just 13 carries. The week before, 30 carries for 180 yards. He's dynamic and he's exactly what you need in these MAC championship games because they can be low-scoring dogfights. So I'm going to take Ohio in this one.
Yeah, I'm also gonna take Miami, Ohio.
Oh, you're taking Miami, Ohio?
Yeah. I mean, you're taking Ohio.
Yeah.
I'll take Ohio, but also Miami because say we got Ohio, and then but if you add in a little Miami, they just should be better. So I'll be taking Miami, Ohio. And I know Army played them a couple years ago, and they look pretty good.
So let's dive into the SEC championship game. Texas, Georgia. We weren't sure if this was going to be the matchup we saw when we were watching the game just a week ago on Friday. The Georgia Tech Georgia game, 8 overtimes, but now we see it. Georgia, Texas. Who do you like here?
Yeah, Georgia versus Georgia Tech was the greatest game I've ever watched in my life. That was insane. Georgia Tech should have won. They called the most stupid flag and 4th down in the end zone. It was actually crazy.
What about if their quarterback? Did you see if he gave the jet sweep? Haynes King.
I didn't see that, but they should have won again in so many ways, and it's just another data point that proves the ACC isn't that far behind of the SEC this year in college football. SEC has been very underwhelming. I'm just gonna say it. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, but as we get to our pick here, the SEC championship, Texas versus Georgia. Georgia beat them the first time. It's hard to beat a team twice. I've liked this Georgia team all year, actually, but they're so like inconsistent. It's crazy. But Texas is a more consistent team. Their O-line has been time after time proving that they are probably the best O-line in the country. And they ran the ball all over A&M's throat last week, and I think they might do it again against Georgia, who couldn't stop Georgia Tech's run game. So I'm going to pick Texas.
Yeah, and I feel like what most people aren't talking about is Kirby Smart. I feel like he was a little surprised with how like shaky his team's been this year. They've been unable to put away these bad teams. And if you look at Texas, Quintravion Wisner, he's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast. Last week, 180 rushing yards. Jaden Blue, who? Georgia, though, right? They're always going to be a top team. And these are two blue bloods in college football today that are going at it. You pick Texas. I like Texas. We're going to go with Georgia.
Georgia, okay.
We're going to go with Georgia. Carson Beck, I feel like he's got to get it done.
Again, I think any one of these games could go either way. Literally, The highest line is like 4 points. It's impossible to pick these games. I'm just going to go with my gut in these ones.
And the Big Ten Championship in Lucas Oil Stadium. Oregon against Penn State.
All right, so Oregon, yes, they are the better team than Penn State. That has been clear at this point. They've been able to put teams away much easier. In Penn State, they're just never as good as they are ranked. They're always overranked. But I am getting a very weird feeling about this Big Ten championship matchup. I have no clue why. I just feel like in this year, in that new landscape of college football, it's so hard to go undefeated in the regular season. And I think first year of the 12-team playoff, we won't have any undefeated teams. Therefore, I'm going to pick Penn State. There's really no reason why I think they'll beat Oregon in this game. I'm just getting a very weird vibe from it. And I think Penn State, they have a good defense, obviously. They can run the ball. If they can run the ball on Oregon, there's no reason why they can't win this game. If Oregon's stopping the run, Oregon will definitely win, but I don't think they will be. I'm going to pick Penn State.
Yeah, and I think that weird feeling could be attributed to the Oregon not being able to like put away these bad teams like Georgia. These teams just haven't been able to prove themselves. Yeah, Penn State's a good football team. Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton. They're both good backs, and this is a Penn State team that wants to run all over you. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. It's giving me those Oregon-Wisconsin vibes we saw a few weeks ago. I feel like it could be a 16-10, I don't know, 21-17.
Yeah.
Some sort of game like that. But good coaches win big games. And I think the best coach in college football is Dan Lanning. He said it last week. We've got the hammer and the anvil. And the hammer and the anvil are going to win this game. Give me the Ducks.
Yeah, Dan Lanning is a way better coach than James Franklin is. But James Franklin's got to get a big win at some point. So I'm just guessing it's going to be this week. But one more thing. So pretty much like the Big Ten, it's just your Big Ten. You get your classic low scoring games, unless it's Ohio State playing and Oregon when they're playing good. It's just always a low scoring battle at every one of these teams playing. And this is the Big Ten finale, the biggest game of the year. And I agree with Brody. I feel like if it's the Big Ten finale, the Big Ten is known for these low scoring rushing attack games. And I agree. I think it's going to be a low scoring battle. Could go either way.
So let's move it over to the nightcap of the night. The ACC Championship. SMU with their 1 loss against Clemson with their 3 losses. The winner gets into the college football playoff. And SMU, they control their destiny. Don't play that lose and hope you're in the playoffs. Just get the win. But who do you like in this one?
Okay. So, I don't know. SMU probably is the better team. But Clemson's been given so many darn opportunities this year. If we go in and lose this game, we'll be a 4-loss ACC team. It would be a 4-loss ACC team that was 1 game away, maybe 1 possession away from making the playoff. It just seems we've gotten way too many opportunities to waste it. We're a more experienced college football team. I really hope we win, and I think we will. I think we have more coaching experience in this environment. SMU, I feel like they might be more thinking like, if we do lose this game, will we still get in? While Clemson, their mindset is we have to win. We have to win. That's why I'm going to pick Clemson, and I really hope we can stop the run. Because if we don't stop the run, like South Carolina last week, I think we'll lose. Because our offense is going to score. I know that. Our offense is good, but our rushing defense has been very shaky. But if we do a good job stopping the run, I don't see any reason why we don't win this game. And that's why I'm putting on the Tiger again.
Last time you picked the Tiger, it did not work for Clemson whatsoever.
No, it did not.
And you look at Dabo Swinney's conference championship record. I don't have it in front of me, but I guarantee you, just from their success, it's impeccable.
Yeah.
His record in these games. And he knows how to get teams wins. This is exactly what he's looking for. You give Dabo Swinney a chance, he'll make you pay for it. Phil Maffa, he's one of the top running backs in the ACC. Klubnik,
he's not, but
he's a superior, compared to some running backs.
Sure.
Klubnik, superior quarterback to the Jennings guy SMU has. Clemson's defense, they have a few guys with NFL talent. Clemson's been able to put away these ACC teams that SMU wasn't able to in the beginning of the year. The problem is we have a changed SMU team. They're going to be fired up for this game, and for that reason, I'm going to take the Mustangs.
All right. I mean, you can see here on this Tiger, we got all these thorns. We've been bruised up. Will our experience pay off in this game playing bigger opponents than SMU has? Will it pay off? I'm really hoping it does this weekend. So do you have any final thoughts maybe about like South Carolina not getting in or anything, or should we move to basketball?
I mean, I feel like these games are just going to be a lot fun to watch, and I'm going to be excited to watch them. The big game that I think could be really close that people might not be thinking of is Oregon-Penn State.
Yeah.
I still think that's going to be a low-scoring battle the more and more I think about it, and I think the tight ends, you talk about Tyler Warren.
Yes.
The tight ends in this game are going to be very big when you're talking about these low-scoring games in the Big Ten Championship.
Swiss knife.
Yes. So let's move it over to the hoop side of the things. And this week in college basketball, we had a few challenges, the Big 12, Big 10 challenge, and the SEC challenge. And the SEC, what did they beat them, Lucas, in the ACC?
14-2.
14-2. Superiority for one conference. And they're talking about the SEC for 12 bids now. That's quite remarkable. So some big games we saw this week. Lucas's Clemson Tigers. They just beat Kentucky, and they stormed the court at home. Kansas creating the number 1 team in the country. They fall. Kansas lost their first game. And there's one stat I saw that was really big. I actually found the stat myself. 50 of Kansas's 70 attempts came from 3 players. And you might think Hunter Dickinson has got to be the guy.
No.
He had 4 field goal attempts. Jashwan Harris, what is he known for? His defense. He's known for his playmaking abilities. 21 shots from the field. I mean, it's unacceptable. Bill Self, I don't know what he was doing. You got to change up that offense. Pop Isaacs, boy, was he cash for Creighton, and Creighton was able to upset them. And then Auburn Duke. Duke beat Auburn. It's not a bad loss. I could go on and on about what we could do better, what could have been better. But losing by 6 at Cameron Indoor, it's really not that bad.
No, it's not at all. And the ACC SEC Challenge was so weird because you had all the ACC, they have no depth, literally none. The SEC has a lot of depth, and that was proved. And I'm an ACC fan. SEC is definitely the better basketball conference than us. It's not really close. But the one thing that jumps out to me is the funny thing is Kentucky and Auburn were the highest ranked SEC teams going into this week, with Kentucky having a big win over Duke, Auburn winning the Maui. It only makes sense, right? Clemson, who's extremely underrated, they're actually a great team in basketball. We're starting to become a basketball school in a way. We beat Kentucky. That wasn't even really surprising to me. But then Duke beating Auburn. Auburn is a great team. But they were at Duke. Duke was favorite. Again, not so surprising. But those are just two huge wins for the ACC. But it just doesn't mean anything because we lost the other 14 games. And the last thing I want to say is Creighton does this every year. They did it last year to UConn. They stormed the court. I feel like they always beat the number one team in the country. If Creighton gets hot and their shooters are making their shots, they're obviously a dangerous team, but they're just not the type of team now. We've seen it years. They're never going to win a March Madness type of thing. Their defense is never good enough. They just don't have enough tough slashers that these other ACC and SEC teams have. And it's a great win. It gets them right back into where they were at the beginning of the year, but they're still not going to be a good team by the end of the year. I don't think you overreact to this Creighton-Kansas game.
Yeah, and we can look back at now. I feel like Creighton, they're definitely capable of being an Elite Eight team, but at the same time, I could see them in a double overtime game in round of 32, Sweet 16. You know, they're going to be in a close game. I just don't see this Creighton team. I don't think they're going to get blown out unless you get to a later round.
Yeah,
they can stick with you, but then you can latch off.
I could definitely see them being in like a 7-10 matchup in the first round, being like 94-96 triple overtime type game.
Exactly. So we're just going to preview 2 games this weekend. They're big matchups. Let's go with the rivalry in Wisconsin. Wisconsin against Marquette. Both teams suffered a loss earlier this week.
So I've been all about the bounce back, and I've picked the bounce back already twice in our college basketball picks, gotten them both right. Marquette just lost a tough one to Iowa State. It was on the road at Iowa State, and Iowa State, I think, is like a top 3, top 4 team in the country. And they really stuck with them for the majority of the game. Iowa State ended up winning that game by 12 points, but it was a tie game with like 4 minutes left. Marquette is still a great team. They might be the best team in the Big East this year, and I think they'll bounce back against Wisconsin, they're a good team, obviously. They have John Tonji. He's the beast. They still have the 7-footer and Stephen Crowell. And they're a top 20 team. It's another huge in-state rivalry matchup, but I'm going to pick Marquette.
Yeah, totally. You just stole it right out of my book there. I'm going to take Marquette too. Iowa State's a good team. You play them on the road, difficult. Wisconsin, I'm not sure what to make of them yet. They haven't jumped out to me and impressed me so much. For that reason, I'm going to take Marquette. And then there's the battle in Seattle against Kentucky against Gonzaga.
Okay, so Kentucky just lost to Clemson. And I think
you're all about the bounce back, right?
Mark Pope, yeah, I know, but Mark Pope is a good coach, right? And I don't want to say they were looking too far ahead at the Gonzaga game and they were sleeping on Clemson. I don't think they were. But if they were so focused on the Gonzaga game, they better go and win. They can't. If the top 3 team doesn't lose 2 games in 1 week.
UConn did.
Well, yeah, but that was they didn't have any good wins yet. But it's just it's tough to pick against Gonzaga and Mark Few in the non-conference. They're always good in the non-conference, but just like I said, I'm all about the bounce back game. I think Kentucky and Gonzaga are so similarly matched, but Gonzaga they've yet to play in all these road tough environments that Kentucky does, and I'm all about the bounce back. So I'm going to pick Mark Pope in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's the battle of the marks, but I just don't know if this Kentucky team is going to be inspired enough. You know, you travel from Clemson midweek, and now you go all the way to Seattle. Gonzaga doesn't need to travel any further. They're going to have to come to New York in a few weeks to play against UConn, but here they play against Kentucky, and let's remember, this is a very good Gonzaga team. Graham Ike, Nembhard, Khalif Battle, rocking number 99. Yeah. And Mark Few, he's not going to lose this game. After they lost to West Virginia, I think Gonzaga is going to roll in this one.
See, Gonzaga, I'm actually going to change my pick. I forgot that Gonzaga lost to West Virginia, so it's still considered a bounce-back game. And I do think Gonzaga is a better team, so I'm actually going to pick Gonzaga along with Brody.
All right, and that's going to wrap it up for episode 7 of Hoop and Helmets. I'm Brody Jacobson, joined alongside by Lucas DeVries. Good luck with all of your college football championship